Hello everyone, we are back again. I'm Madhavi, founder of Jivisha and post coordinator for Oracle Ankini's Ecofeminism Fellowship. In this series of Leaning into Network, we are meeting people who are working in environment and sustainability sector. Today with us we have Swati Singh Samyar. Swati is well-known name in waste management, and we are very happy to have her with us today. Welcome, Swati.
Thanks, Madhvi. My pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
So my first question, which I'm asking everyone, is what is nature for you, and how would you describe Mother Earth?
Okay. Well, I think nature is everything to me, and I think should mean the same for everyone else. I feel so because, we are nothing without nature. We are surrounded by it all the time. It fills all the gaps and voids around us and within us. So if we take care of it, nature nurtures us. If not, we bear the brunt. And we've seen that in the past decade. There have been rampant floods, there have been cyclones, there have been forest fires. All these extreme weather events have been, they all have occurred because of the fact that we haven't cared enough for our nature. So, Mother Earth, protecting it, saving it, and nurturing it, I feel, is the need of the hour. And I feel we all must acknowledge the fact that uh, to live is to live in harmony with nature. The moment we disturb it, we all know that we are living in very strange times. So, that nature nurture cooperation has to be there always at all costs. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Each day, every day, we are facing something which when nature is giving us signal, ki guys, please wake up, and that is very like how you said it is like today itself from last 2 3 days where I am in Maharashtra, Sindhudurga, we are facing rains and no electricity, so I was not even sure if I would be able to do this interview. So yeah, rightly said. So when and how did you feel this deep connect with nature? Was it there within you always, or there was some experience which moved you and you went towards this path?
Okay. Very interesting question. Well, I come from the hills. I'm from Himachal Pradesh and from a place called Palampur. So I've always been deeply connected with nature ever since I was born. And because I was surrounded, because I lived in a beautiful place which was surrounded by mountains and flowing streams, and it also is the second most I think the second highest place in India that receives the maximum rainfall. So I think I was very much around it, and I got to experience all the joys that any kid would love to experience. And I really feel sad sometimes when I see kids today and children. Probably for them, leisure is going to the mall or eating at McDonald's or Domino's. But I guess for me, it was swimming in ponds, trekking, trying to fetch water from a stream, picking leaves, plucking flowers. So I feel in some sense, I always had a deep connection with Mother Earth and nature, and maybe that's why the kind of profession I'm in somewhere that deep connect kind of led me to this conscious path of working for environment and working into waste management. Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned that your background and the way you were brought up or where you were born, that was the reason you are like that was one of the reasons you are doing the work which you are doing. But how exactly, what was the process, how it happened, and how you joined work in waste management?
Okay. Well, I was doing my master's in energy and environmental engineering, And I knew that I wanted to work and flourish in the field of environment. I think since 2009, I had decided that this is an area that really interests me. And at that time, there were a lot of interesting courses being offered. So I come from an engineering background, and I did my master's in this field. And I used to read this magazine Down to Earth since many years before, say early 2000, which was fortnightly by Center for Science and Environment, and I was very regular at reading it. So I think, in some sense, while I was through my masters, I knew that, well, in India, if I have to work, this is the place, which is since many years has been working on environmental research and advocacy. uh, Center for Science and Environment has had a long history of working in the field of environment and public policy, and I felt this is my calling. And well, sometimes it happens like what you think happens. So exactly, like after finishing my master's, I just applied for a position. I was there, and I think I was very lucky to be associated with some of the most amazing people at CSE, and activists and people who are really passionate about environment. And working at the start of my career with those people really helped in shaping my thought process, and having an informed understanding of the politics of environment. Because when we say environment or various issues that surround it, there's also a lot of politics around it. So I think CSE really shaped my thought process on environment and environmentalism and activism. And I think 3-4 years into the center, I started heading the waste management program, more so because that was always an area that interested me. That was also an area where a lot of work had not been done then. When I say then, I mean 2013 onwards. There were very initial discussions on the draft solid waste management rules, which was being shaped up. So I had a lot of interest in that area, and I think 2014 onwards, I started heading their waste management program, and got an opportunity to work not only in India, but also in South Asia and Global South on various waste management issues, right from policy, helping state governments, urban departments, and countries to strengthen their waste management policies, but also working on some core projects on implementation, where we, associated with city municipalities, and worked on setting up decentralized waste management systems. And I think while my job, one of the most important things that I learned with all the travels that came with it was various practices in and around waste. And I realized that the challenges of developing world are very much similar. It's not just India that has issues with waste management. It's even South Asia, Southeast Asia, Africa, whole of Global South. And all of us are struggling with similar sort of challenges. So a best practice implemented here could also be implemented there, and vice versa. And we did a lot of such technology transfers, in the course of the work. And and I think after 8.5 years, I moved with UN Habitat, but working on similar areas around waste management in India and Global South. So I think it's been a very fruitful 10 years. And I think waste was always my calling. So when I got to work in this field, I think there are a lot of things that automatically started coming. And I'm really active in this area, and always happy to help people who need advice. Thank you.
Also, yeah, as you mentioned, there are many factors, and there are many topics which, for a layman, waste management will just mean, segregation, composting, as per their understanding. But you spoke about policies, implementation, working with government. So, what all challenges did you face, and what do you think is the main issue? Where we are going wrong? Like, you're working in this field for 10 years. I'm sure a lot of changes have occurred in last 10 years, but what more can we do? What is that thing which we need to consider?
One good change that has happened in last 10 years is, a paradigm shift in how we approach waste management. It's no more passing on the parcel. Typically for a layman, waste management is you put your waste in a dustbin, and then early in the morning, someone will come to your house and pick your dustbin, and that's it. So my job as a generator is over. I can consume things, I can put it in the dustbin, and that's it. But I feel today people do understand the importance of segregation. They are very proactive. If they see places that are filthy and dirty, they do complain to their municipalities. So I feel, in terms of understanding waste as an issue and as a challenge, and why having visibly cleaner areas is important, there has been a drastic change, but I feel we still have a long way to go. If we look at policies related to solid waste management, which you were saying, like, where is the issue that lies? So since 2016, we've had a robust policy on place, as the solid waste management rules of 2016. And we see that there's been a perception, waste being as his job, to people understanding the value of segregation and keeping their surroundings clean. However, we feel that many policies are not implemented due to either a lack of political or administrative will. So I feel that both have to go hand in hand, along with social engineering. For instance, if you look at India and if you look at cities where best practices are happening, they are happening because either the municipality is very good and very active, or there is a political pressure, or a third case where people are equally, willing to step into waste related interventions, and they understand that it's waste because we waste it, otherwise it's resource for someone else. But then of course there are areas that require an extra measure and an extra eye. For instance, look at the plastic bans across the country. Over 25 states and union territories had implemented plastic bans via notifications that went on from ensuring compliance to penalizing offenders. But COVID-19 washed everything. So if you look at the present situation, tell me one state that has implemented the ban rightly. And I feel that has not happened because we have banned, but we have not ensured availability of alternatives. The ones that are there are not cheap and viable for everyone. So if you say people to cut down on single-use plastics, are there cheaper alternatives available for people to switch to? Because probably you and me could buy a cheaper, an alternative, but a layman won't be able to. Someone living in a slum area or an unauthorized colony wouldn't go and purchase a cloth bag, because with that money he could buy his vegetable or his pulses or his ration. So I think we also have to look at the economic viability of alternatives. We haven't changed mindsets when it comes to plastics. If you look at present scenario, plastics are back with a bang, because people feel that single-use products are more safe and hygienic. But that is not the case, especially in the time of pandemic. The next big hurdle to resolve shall be plastics. With so much use of PPEs and single-use plastics, I mean, people are just back to using plastics, not realizing the harm that it would do to the environment and to the surroundings. So I feel that policies fail due to lack of sound implementation strategies on the ground, and not addressing behavior change. Because if you can convince people on why they shouldn't be doing it, and if they know that what is the best option, I think they'll never go for unsustainable choices. So addressing, behavior change, ensuring social engineering, and making a robust plan for implementation is the only way ahead for effective implementation of policies. I feel our country has enough policies in place which are far good, especially in the area of waste management. It's only the implementation part that is missing. Yeah.
Yeah. So you mentioned what changes you have seen in people, and more with respect to government also. But can you talk more about what challenges you faced when you were working with government bodies, and what would you like to share with people who are working in waste management now? What learnings you would like to share?
Okay. Well, do the challenges, I think, if I get your question right, are you asking the challenges we are facing in waste management sector because of the pandemic?
No, I'm asking what challenges personally you faced when you were working in this sector, because there are a lot of because it's not a very straightforward thing as a person who is looking from outside might feel.
Okay. Well, I think the major challenge is having worked with government bodies and having worked on the ground with municipalities. The major challenge is behavior change, both in terms of changing the perception of municipalities, on why sustainable waste management systems is important. So at an administrative level, that is a challenge because since ages, municipalities have been following the paradigm of collecting waste and dumping it in a piece of land, which would probably be a heart of a village, which is highly unsustainable. You're dumping your city's waste in people's land who have a sustainable lifestyle. I mean, but I think in today's times, even villagers are opposing. They're not allowing landfills in their backyards. So, of course, changing the perception of municipalities that waste management is not dumping, but waste management is ensuring segregation at source, creating infrastructure that supports end-to-end segregation, ensuring that a city has various decentralized centers where this waste could be channelized both for composting and processing and recycling, and then making them understand that a dump site or what they call a landfill is only for inert waste. It's only for waste that cannot be processed. I think that's the biggest hurdle. The second biggest hurdle is changing people's behavior on the ground, because people don't readily understand why they should segregate, why they should give segregated waste every day, why is it their responsibility. So in present times, I feel even with COVID, what we are seeing, segregation has become the biggest hurdle because we are seeing and you know quantums and quantums of plastic and biomedical waste is being generated from quarantined houses and households which have been asked to stay in quarantine because probably these patients are affected, not so severely, but because they don't know how to segregate, they mix everything in the yellow bags in which ideally they should put only their COVID related waste, their napkins or PPEs or gloves or cotton swabs or anything that they use on their face or, but then since people don't know segregation well, they just put everything else in these yellow bags, and then this would go to a biomedical facility for incineration. And then those plants will not run properly because the yellow bags, which were ideally meant for only biomedical waste from households, now has wet waste, now has dry waste. So I feel segregation is the biggest hurdle, and educating people and sensitizing them requires maximum work. It's not a one-time thing. I feel in cities, various education drives and campaigns happen, but then the authorities forget. It has to be an ongoing process and has to happen for about 2 to 3 years continuously for segregation to become like brushing our teeth. So I feel these two are the major hurdles on the ground, and once you're able to change a municipality's mindset, of course the authorities or the commissioners or the municipality workforce really helps you out, and they work with you. But if that not happens, then yeah, it is a challenge.
Yeah, and I would like to like ask you one more, like I would like to highlight this point where you can add more on that, that when we are not segregating, someone somewhere has to segregate, and there is a social cause attached to it which many times we don't think about. So would you like to tell us more about that?
Well, Yeah, I mean, I think segregation is important because look at who is collecting your waste. Most of them are informal workers or waste pickers or waste collectors who work in highly compromised conditions. They deal with our mess. And in these times, especially in the time of the pandemic, they don't have regular supplies of personal protective equipment, so I think with very bare minimum things, they are able to support waste management. So I feel it's for their health and for their benefit that we should segregate, because probably nothing will happen to us. But imagine one infected mask which gets mixed into one of our bins of unsegregated waste, and they deal directly with it with bare hands. What kind of havoc it could cause? I mean, they'll get infected, and then from there, if they'll go to their colony or where they are living, most of the places where these workers live are they live in very cramped conditions. So, which means there's a very high chance of infection and spreading in such areas. So, I feel in today's times, segregation, of course, has been always important, but today it becomes even more important to ensure that there is no, spread of COVID-19 to these workers, because it will have a multiplier effect if one of them gets infected. So it's not only for our safety, but segregation is important for their safety as well, utmost important. And I feel that our cities have not been littered with garbage because these people have been coming daily to our doorstep to collect our waste. So high time we respect them. They are critical to our waste management systems of our cities. And the only bit, the least we could do is segregate our waste.
Yeah. Now, like you're working in this sector and you have background also of being in connect with nature. How has your work and your connect with nature changed you? Or like change your, like what effect working with nature has had on your body?
Okay. Well, I feel first of all, my work has made me more conscious on the implications of our choices, how a small purchase can impact the environment, or how our actions can affect our future generations. Would they be willing to be born into a world that is full of pollution and filth and devoid of nature and its species? So I feel the level of consciousness is really high. I do take informed decisions. I don't go out and buy, I avoid plastics. I've really cut down on single use plastics. And, since I've worked extensively on capacity building, right from strengthening municipalities to working with cities, I think I believe I'm a change maker of sorts. And I truly believe that we need more and more multipliers in our society, because in the end it's the education and behavior change component that is totally missing out. So for instance, I have a page on Instagram which is called Go Circular, where I kind of help people if they want to switch to a zero waste lifestyle. Now, I feel that zero waste is a journey. It can't happen like you think you want to become zero waste. You can't become zero waste in a day. It'll happen in a year or 2 years or 3 years or 5 years, because we are just surrounded by plastics and so many items that maybe we don't need, but they've become such a close part of our lifestyle that it's become, it becomes unavoidable for certain products. So I feel the next task which I'm up to personally, I mean, of course, professionally, I'm working with local bodies and various partners on waste management, but personally also I'm trying in every possible way to reduce to zero waste lifestyle and to make conscious and informed decisions. I feel if every person starts thinking like that, but drop by drop you make an ocean. So I feel that I not only do it for myself, but I also believe in creating multipliers around me. There are many people whom I push to compost, to have a kitchen garden, to have to have their own small farm in their balconies, or to reduce waste, to reduce plastics. So I feel as an individual, all the work that I've done has really helped me to adopt a zero waste lifestyle step by step, but also help others who want to do it. Not forcibly, but totally by choice. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So, what challenges you are facing professionally or personally, or because of this ongoing pandemic and lockdown? What challenges you are?
Well, I don't think so. Due to pandemic, I feel most of us have been kind of privileged in terms of the setups that we are in, and I haven't really struggled with anything during pandemic. But I'm definitely worried about people, the informal sector and workers who have lost their jobs. The informal economy was totally thrashed. Of course, it's slowly and slowly gearing up and coming back to normal. But I personally didn't face any challenges. I mean, when we went into a lockdown March onwards, I've been working remotely from home past months now, and probably for a few months more. And so I'm usually busy with my work. I keep myself updated on what's happening in various cities, where are the best practices that are happening on waste. So I constantly follow up with my networks. And then, yeah, I mean, I think this time has also given me a lot of space to read more, not just related to waste or circular economy, but other areas also that interest me, to write more, to listen to more music. So I feel I'm too privileged to say that has the pandemic affected me. No, it hasn't much. But I really have my heart for people who have lost their jobs, the informal sector, and we're also seeing a lot of layoffs happening, colleagues losing their jobs and stuff like that. So I think I've donated at quite basis to help where I can. Of course, I couldn't step out on the ground, but I donated at a few interventions and places where I felt there was a need to. And I always help people who are on the lookout for jobs on environmental and sustainability sector, because I feel this is also a time where if you have resources and if you are at a place where you can help, right, help. So I think I've been pretty active even during the lockdown in terms of the work, and there is voluntary services that I'm associated with, and didn't had any issue per se. I feel I'm too privileged to say or complain that I had issues. So yeah, but I feel absolutely sorry for people who had, and yeah, I mean, I'm always on a lookout to help people if they reach out. Yeah. So I think as a human, I do try to do that.
And like when things don't go as we want, and when you face some struggles, how do you take care of yourself? What is your personal care routine?
Okay. Well, I think I listen to music. It really calms me down. Or I do yoga, which has really helped me to control my temperament. There's so much of energy inside me that I think you really help control, and most of us are staying indoors, and it's not that healthy. So I do follow that routine. There's a big forest park right behind my house, so I go for a walk for about an hour. That really calms me down, and I try to eat healthy food. I think one good thing that has happened during the lockdown is that uh, we people have stopped going out, which I feel was so unhealthy, eating out. So I feel, yeah, eating home food has also been a big up during these times. And yeah, so I think these are some of the things I do to keep myself, on taking care of myself, and keeping myself calm and sane in this insane and chaotic world right now. Yeah, I feel every bad thing is happening in 2020, so it's really important to take care of yourself personally and just cut from negativity that is around. Yeah.
Yeah. So throughout the interview, you have already shared a lot of tips. But to summarize, to end this, what would you tell people who are new to this? Where should we begin? What should we do?
Okay. Well, if you really want to start with something, since I am a resource practitioner and I've worked on management, I think of my advices would be in that area. One is that if you really are not informed about something, reach out to people working in this area. There are many people like me who are accessible. We have Twitter pages, we can and I mean, yeah, so reaching out is number one. Second is if you really want to do something on the ground, join volunteer groups, join NGOs that work on the ground to learn about some on ground interventions, to also become more sensitized about the scale of the problem. Most of us don't understand the havoc that is waste management is because of the fact that we are not informed about the surroundings. And have you ever climbed the dump site and have you seen such a, where all our waste goes? It's to these hills of lands. For instance, if I talk about Delhi, Delhi has three garbage hills. It's a hill station of sorts, but the irony is that these are garbage hills and these are not mountains. So, climb a dump site. I mean, see it for yourself how challenging it's an issue, and how our small purchases impact the environment. As a start, I would suggest that cut down on plastics, one item at a time. I'm not saying just stop plastic. I think it has just seeped in so much into our lives that it's almost unavoidable to cut it down completely. But step by step, try with the easiest. For instance, say no to PET plastic bottle, carry on bottle of water there, carry on cutlery, carry on cloth bag. If you just follow this, you'll be able to cut out 50 to 60% of plastics that otherwise as an individual you generate on a daily basis. And support local, buy local. Mall, and I'm someone who advises, who's a mall person, I would always purchase a piece of cloth or veggies and grocery from a local vendor. So I feel support and go local. I think it's more healthy, it's more sustainable. You're supporting someone with their job and so you're buying something, but then you're also helping someone. So that way, going local is far more better. And I feel even if you do these little bits, you can be a big part of this. And once you're educated, try to reach out to as many, because I feel it's all about creating multipliers in the society. So you having learned something doesn't mean pass it on. Pass on that knowledge to someone else and take their feedback. How did it help them? And last but not the least, start composting. The household waste that we generate, almost 50 to 60% of it is biodegradable waste. So, just do it like a fun activity and then use that compost for your pots and grow veggies and plants with it. So I think these are some of the things which would not only ensure the fact that you're supporting the environment and protecting it, but also, you are in very, very small ways putting in your efforts to cut down on J&J emissions and helping to, support this entire movement around climate change as well. So yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Swati. It was a very insightful session and very candid as well. I thoroughly enjoyed this session.
Thank
And
you.
for everyone, I'm going to tag Swati's Instagram account, which she mentioned. You follow that and start with something. As she said, we all can be change makers. So we just need to take that first step. Thank you very much. Next Friday, I'll be back again with one more interview.